Hi, I'm Dave Stevens, and welcome to the R Factor. As I mentioned in all the communications that went out, there were three things that you would need to do to make major differences in your life. That would be to sign up, show up, and then implement the things that I'm going to teach you today. Well, you've already done two out of the three. You signed up and you showed up. And now the third one is to implement. So let's get going. I had a dysfunctional childhood. Now, there wasn't anything illegal or immoral going on back then, but there wasn't a whole lot of encouragement or attaboys, that kind of thing in our house. There wasn't even a whole lot of hugs that went on. And I was a straight A student for the most part, but yet I never got congratulated on it. And these things impacted me for the majority of my life, and I never really even realized it. Now, I'm not using my upbringing as an excuse because I realized very early in life that we are who we are based on the decisions we make and the choices that we take and the direction in our lives and so on and so forth. But I decided very early that I was going to make a change in my life. And so I started reading books and going to seminars and trainings. I was following Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn and Dennis Waitley and those guys, and just basically filling my head with good stuff, trying to be better, to try and change, try and wash out some of that old programming, if you will. And little by little, I changed. But there was one thing I still lacked, and that was purpose. And I struggled with this for about, 20 years or so. And near the end of that 20 years, I went through a divorce. Now, I didn't cheat on my wife. I didn't beat my wife, nothing like that. Uh, I was basically doing what I saw my dad do my entire life. Um, he loved his wife, and just like him, I loved my wife, but just like him, I didn't cherish her. And so that was simply not enough for her, and she wanted out. Well, after the divorce, I decided that I want to be better. So once again, I start reading books, different books this time. I went to counseling. I counseled with the husbands at the Christian church that I was a member of at that time, and the wives at the church also counseled me. So it was kind of unique for me because I learned an awful lot in a very short period of time, and I became better. I became a better person, a better dad, and a better future husband. And but even though I was a new or a better person, I still I still lacked that focus in my life. And I think a big part of that was because from very early on I spent a lot of time with dad, and we built our own house from the ground up. And so I learned to do carpentry and electrical and plumbing and roofing and concrete work and all that kind of stuff. And I got really good at all those things. And I could never really narrow down just one thing for me to do. And I think this was a big part of my problem with not being able to get a focus. It prevented me from narrowing down that whole list of things that I was good at. I felt like I was just repeating the same day over and over again, just like the movie Groundhog Day. I was stuck in a rut and I didn't know how to get out of it. I was lost, and I didn't even realize that I was lost. And then I came across this information, and it changed my life. It caused me to be laser focused on what I felt my life purpose was. And I want to share some of this with you today. So let's get rolling. I am going to now share this here. Okay. And I'm going to turn off my video so that my ugly face or my waving hands do not distract you during the presentation. Okay. I've got some really exciting information to share with you. In fact, I'm going to be giving you proven strategies for building the kind of life, lifestyle, career, and future that you've been yearning for. If life is feeling a bit stagnant for you right now, like you're just going through the motions every day and nothing really changes, I want you to take you through a process that will help you start dreaming again. And I want to give you the proven process for getting from where you are now to where you want to be. These proven strategies I'll be sharing they're already being used by top achievers around the world. People who've succeeded wildly in business and philanthropy, sports, entertainment, science, and more. They've got awesome lifestyles, terrific relationships, fascinating causes that are important to them, all the money they need. And of course, they've got the freedom of making their own schedule to focus on the things they want to do. And I want that for you too, which is why I'm happy to have you with me today to go through this proven formula. It's just a matter of following the steps. There are 4 steps in all. And if you had a chance to download and print out the workbook that's included with this webinar, you'll see there are worksheets that you can do on your own time for each of the 4 steps. So let's get started. E plus R equals O. That's the first step in creating a different future. And it's actually an equation that will change everything. E plus R equals O stands for event plus response equals outcome. When I first learned this equation, I responded to life's events as they came up. If I got a flat tire, I responded with frustration. If my bank account was in trouble, I was miserable. If there was bumper-to-bumper traffic when I was running late for a meeting, I blamed the traffic. That was until I learned this equation for responding differently to life's events when they came up. Here's the reality. Events just happen. Often you can't control them because they materialize as a result of specific situations, other people's emotions, timing, the economy, the weather, and a million other details that are outside your control. Events just happen. But what most people do when faced with events is they feel harassed and stressed. They'll do anything to just make the situation go away. That's reactionary. And unfortunately, it often produces an outcome they don't want. So what's their first inclination? To blame the event for their bad outcome. Unfortunately, blaming an event for producing a negative in your life puts all the power outside of your control. There's nothing you can do about external events. They happen. That's just reality. So the only way to get a good outcome is respond in a way that will bring about the outcome you want. So today, the first step in this life-changing formula that I've been talking about is to take responsibility for how you respond to events, mishaps, and catastrophes, but especially for how you respond to opportunities that come up. This doesn't mean you have to take responsibility for the event itself. That is usually out of your hands. But how you respond is 100% within your control. And it's the one leverage point where you can change what you get out of life. So taking more responsibility for your responses is the first and most important step toward creating more success in our lives. You can be thoughtful and deliberate, or you can be frustrated and reactive and emotional. It's always your choice. And what's so terrific about this concept is that it puts control back in your hands. This is especially important when opportunities come up. Opportunities for you to get ahead or achieve what you want. Do you know that some people react emotionally when an actual opportunity presents itself? Oh, they complain that the timing isn't right, or that they're not ready, or that it will require a lot of work to respond to the opportunity, or that they don't have the money right now. You'd be surprised at the complaints you'll hear from some people when an opportunity arises. But here's the second point about, here's the second point about the E plus R equals O equation. You have to give up blaming and complaining about the event and focus on how you'll respond appropriately and positively. Getting back to the negative events that happen, what do most people do? They complain typically to the wrong person. If I'm upset with my boss because they've given me a ton of extra work to finish by tomorrow morning, I end up complaining to my coworker. And if I'm upset with my spouse for spending money on a major purchase without talking about it, I complain to my best friend. Well, that doesn't solve anything because I'm complaining to the wrong person. It's wasted energy. I need to tell my boss that her timing or the way she prioritizes projects is not working, and we need a better system of scheduling. And I need to talk with my spouse and say, hey, look, I want to create a household budget so that major purchases are planned and paid for before we make the decision to buy. If I speak to the right person instead of the wrong person, the right person can do something about it. They have feedback that I would like something different. Of course, that person won't always grant my request, but at least communicating my request is the first step to actually getting what I want. This is just mature discussion. It's relationship management 101. But what about natural disasters and other events that don't involve individual people? Well, I can respond differently to those events too. I can leave an extra 20 minutes early for meetings in case of traffic. I can keep up on the economic news and maybe put extra savings aside if I hear a recession is predicted. I can upgrade my skills so that I'm still valuable to the new management team after my company gets bought out. And I can have the right kinds of healthy foods in my refrigerator so that I'm not eating on the run or grabbing junk food because I'm too busy to shop or cook. Instead of spending most of our time blaming things outside ourselves, whether it be the weather, our boss, the traffic, the economy, or the current president, we can take action in advance and be prepared. We can devise ways to increase our options should disaster occur. Whatever the world throws at us, we have to stop blaming something outside of ourselves. So taking more responsibility for our responses to events is the first and most important step toward creating more success in our life. Another important part of taking responsibility and not being a victim in life is watching out for something we call yellow alerts. Yellow alerts are little events or comments or recurring situations that you notice that act as clues that something is happening or is about to happen that's not going to work out in your favor. Here's an example. I hire Sarah as my personal assistant. And 2 months later, she says, I'm thinking about marrying a wonderful guy who lives in the Bahamas. But I ignore that. A month after that, Sarah says she's really falling more in love with this guy and also hates the rainy weather here. I ignore that. A few weeks after that, she's buying bridal magazines and looking for real estate in Nassau. Then, all of a sudden, Sarah quits, and I'm surprised and unprepared and scrambling for a new assistant because I wasn't paying attention to the yellow alerts Sarah was giving me all along. There are a lot of yellow alerts in your life. Like your teenager comes home late, night after night, with a rank smell on his clothes. Or the senior executives from the head office have been repeatedly visiting your department with no explanation. Or your biggest client has been giving projects that are ideal for you to others. You wonder, well, what's going on here? But you don't want to say anything because that would be uncomfortable. Unfortunately, because mature conversations and inquiries and taking action is inconvenient or uncomfortable, we tend to deny the yellow alerts rather than act upon them in time. The truth is, we're almost always given clues that things are coming. We are not the victims here. I want to direct your attention now to 2 different exercises in the free workbook that was included with today's class. If you didn't get a chance to download it beforehand, you can still get it out of your email when you register later. You won't need your workbook to do any exercises right now, but to get the most benefit from today's class, please do the exercises sometime this week. The first exercise I want to explain is something called difficult or troubling situation analysis. Just like an unexpected event, we all experience ongoing, troubling situations from time to time. It's just a part of life. No matter how well you prepare to avoid these hardships, they sometimes simply happen. And if not addressed, they can trouble you for years. It's far easier to resolve the situation than move on. What kinds of situations am I talking about? Well, a teenager or a sibling who's not speaking to you, a financial difficulty that's getting worse every day, a health condition that's annoying, nagging, or uncomfortable, a tense atmosphere at the office, that sneaking suspicion that your spouse is being unfaithful. The key here is to respond to the event, whether it's sudden or long-standing, with a commitment to resolving it so you can move on to creating better outcomes in the future. The difficult or troubling analysis will help you get past a current situation so you can focus on your success again. The exercise has full instructions in the workbook, but it essentially asks you to analyze the payoffs or benefits you get for keeping the situation just like it is, the negative cost of keeping it like it is, and your part in creating it or allowing it to be like it is, and the actions that you could take or the requests that you could make to get what you want instead. Don't fail to respond to a troubling situation because it's easier or more convenient, less uncomfortable, or less confrontational, or it keeps the peace, or it doesn't require taking risks. Take action. Don't allow negative outcomes to be your fate. In the same way, you don't want to fail to respond to a yellow alert because it's easier or more convenient or less confrontational. There's a second exercise in your workbook called What Are You Pretending Not to Know? What are you pretending not to know? If you're experiencing negative outcomes in your life, perhaps you're ignoring the facts or excusing your part in creating a problem. To help you identify areas to take corrective action or to take action to prevent an eventual disaster, the exercise asks you to examine each area of your life and determine if there's a problem that you are ignoring or creating. You might be ignoring something to do with your health or your money or your family or your lifestyle or your career. Whatever it is, this exercise will help you respond to the yellow alerts before something disastrous occurs. Step number 2 in this process is deciding what you want. The next critical step in this it's a proven success formula, is decide what you want. One of the most amazing phenomena you'll ever experience as you incorporate this formula into your daily life is the unexpected phone call, the windfall financial benefit, or the uncanny new acquaintance that brings you exactly what you want or need in order to achieve your goals, almost as if it were planned. Perhaps it's the universe rewarding your new take action attitude by harnessing all the forces at its disposal. Or perhaps you've worked hard and have grown yourself to the point where you're finally ready to receive a benefit which has been waiting in the wings all along. But more probably, as researchers now believe, it may simply be a matter of your subconscious mind focusing on and recognizing opportunity when it arrives. Whatever the explanation, the reality is that what you want wants you. I'm going to repeat that. What you want wants you. Your goals, desires, and needs are patiently waiting to gravitate toward you once you decide what you truly want. Of course, the main reason why most people don't get what they want is they haven't decided what that want is. They haven't defined their goals exactly, and specifically in clear and compelling detail. After all, how else can your mind know where to begin looking, seeing, and hearing if you don't give it specific and detailed goals to achieve? There's a very powerful technique for helping you define what you want in vivid detail. And I'll be talking about that technique in just a moment. But before defining the ideal life you want for yourself, here's a word of caution. Make sure that your wants that are personally important to you, not those you believe should be important, or those the world expects you to have, or something your mother wants you to focus on. But make sure that your wants are what's truly important to you from the deepest place in your heart. Don't live somebody else's dream. Unfortunately, the sad reality for most people is they simply aren't honest with themselves. If they were, they would realize their shoulds are almost always less interesting and more hassle than what they truly want. Here's an example. Many people who have become social media influencers or industry experts were working dull jobs and following a career that other people thought was fantastic. But their lives didn't really become thrilling or fulfilling or meaningful or even lucrative until they started something that they wanted to do. Whether that's a decorating blogs, they started consulting for other small businesses and something that they're an expert at, or maybe started writing cookbooks. Once they were living the life they truly wanted, all the necessary opportunities showed up, including the money. One of the easiest ways to begin deciding what you truly want is to ask a friend to help you make a list. Have the friend continually ask you, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? For about 10 to 15 minutes while they jot down your answers. You'll find the first ones you run through aren't all that profound or deep. In fact, most people usually hear themselves saying, well, I want a Mercedes, I want a big house at the beach, and so on. But by the end of the 15-minute exercise, and they've run out of the easy answers, that's when the real you will begin to speak. Things like, I want people to love me. I want to make a difference. I want to be significant in my field where I work. They end up being wants that are true expressions of your heartfelt desires. So that's a quick exercise you can do with a friend, then trade places and help them make their own list of wants too. But to really create your definitive list, I want you to turn to the page in your workbook and find an exercise called the vision exercise. And it will help you decide what you want to be, do, and have in the 7 major areas of your life. The vision exercise is also located in your workbook. This is an exercise you do privately, just you alone. Start by putting on some relaxing music and sitting quietly in a comfortable environment where you won't be disturbed. Then close your eyes and ask your subconscious mind to give you images of what your ideal life would look like if you were living it exactly as you want. Visualize your life in 7 key areas: your career or personal life or professional life, your career or professional life, your finances, your recreation and free time, your body and physical health, your relationships, your personal growth, and your community work, what we call giving back. As you go through the exercise, you'll be defining what you want to be, do, and have in each of these 7 areas. There are ideas and prompts and memory joggers in each section to help you think through your ideal life. But here's the kicker. Your subconscious mind knows already what you want, and they will be the ultimate source of ideas for you. Even if you don't have the workbook with you right now, let's do just a little bit of this exercise right now. I want you to close your eyes now and begin breathing deeply. Inhale slowly and exhale slowly. Take another deep breath in and out. And another one. In and out. Now imagine you are in your ideal home. Where is it located? What kind of decor, furniture, photos do you have in your home? Is there music playing in the background? How do you feel as you stroll through the rooms of your ideal home? Now, come back slowly and open your eyes. What you just did was an example of the vision exercise you'll be doing later in the workbook. It takes time. Don't rush it. If you don't immediately see images of the different areas of your life, that is perfectly okay. It still works just as well if you are just thinking of the ideal elements versus actually seeing yourself in those environments. Let your mind wander a bit. Dream a little. When the ideas come to you, write them down in the workbook. Many people set aside an evening to do the rest of this exercise. So tonight, after this webinar, is a great time to get started on this lengthy exercise. But it's an important one because they will ultimately form a goals list of things you need to work on. Okay, so here's some really good news. Those wants that you'll be identifying later in your workbook, they're achievable. In fact, for most everything we want, someone else has already done it, created it, owned it, or achieved it. So there's not much of what we want anymore that is so lofty that it can't be accomplished. But the key to getting what you want, and here is step 3 in the formula I first introduced way back at the beginning of this webinar. Step 3 is to set goals around the things you want to be, do, and have. And how do we set a goal? by writing it in such a way that it's specific and measurable. That is, someone other than you can know for certain whether you've achieved that goal or not. Let me give you an example. If you said, I want to own a house at the beach someday, that's a nice dream or desire that you have. But to make it into a specific and measurable goal, you need more information. And you need to state it in a way that there is certainty you'll have that beach house one day. Like this: I will own a 4,000 square foot house on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California by 12 o'clock midnight, April 30th, 2025. Do you hear the difference? This second version of your goals tells your brain exactly what you want to achieve, not just a vague, dreamy hope. If you want to retire early with millions of dollars invested, for example, state the exact amount you'll have invested on the exact date you plan to retire. As part of the vision exercise in the workbook, you'll be turning all of your wants into specific and measurable goals that you can begin working on and achieving. That's exercise number 4. And here's a bonus idea. Why not create minimum goals, target goals, and outrageous goals? Whenever you write down your specific and measurable goals, set 3 different levels that you will achieve. Let's say you want to build a large savings account and get out of debt. A minimum goal might be putting together a $1,000 emergency fund in the next 30 days. A target goal might be to save up 3 to 6 months of living expenses in the next 8 months. And an outrageous goal might be to pay off all your consumer debt and maybe even your mortgage in the next 7 years. The outrageous goal is always something that would just blow your mind if you achieved it. Your target goal is usually something within your capabilities. And your minimum goal is something that you're almost guaranteed to reach. But it gets you going and taking action, whereas an outrageous goal might seem too overwhelming to even start. What happens with this minimum, target, and outrageous formula is that most people will start with the minimum. Then they get motivated and end up reaching their target goal very easily. Have you ever said, I'm just going to get rid of those old dishes stored in the garage? And the next thing you know, you've cleaned the entire garage and even called a local charity to haul away a truckload of junk. It was just a matter of getting started to take that first step. You could even delegate the entire garage cleanup to a professional organizer, or maybe trade with a friend by doing something for them. That would achieve your target goal for certain. While goal setting is an important step to achieving the wants on our dream list, most of the goals we set focus on improving our life in the moment, right now. Things like get the house painted, finish my sales report, clean out the laundry room, lose 20 pounds. But what if instead you focused on a single goal that would up-level everything you do, from your career to your career network, to your income, to your lifestyle? Wouldn't that be a goal worth pursuing with passion? Wouldn't that be something to focus on a little each day until you achieved it? Think about it. If you were an independent sales professional and knew you could get a substantial bonus commission and maybe even a promotion Once you landed a certain number of customers, wouldn't you work day and night to achieve that goal? If you were a stay-at-home mom whose entire lifestyle and finances would change by earning an extra $1,000 to $3,000 a month, wouldn't you pursue every possible opportunity for side work or your own part-time business to achieve that goal? That's what I mean by a breakthrough goal. Something that changes your life, brings you new opportunities, gets you in front of the right people, and uplevels every activity, relationship, or group you're involved in. What might your single breakthrough goal be? Well, there's an exercise in the workbook that will help you decide. But for the purposes of this webinar, whether you believe you can achieve it or not, what one single change in your career, business, lifestyle, or relationship would boost you to the next level? Is it landing a promotion, changing jobs, expanding your business, finding your soulmate, maybe qualifying for an award, or going back to school, maybe moving across the country, or retiring early, or some other goal? Take time later to think about your breakthrough goal. There's a page in the workbook to figure it out and jot it down. Look for exercise number 5. I want to finish our discussion of goal setting by talking about a technique that will help you achieve major goals in record time. It's a way to get your brain focused on assembling the resources, people, money, and circumstances needed to bring about your everyday goals and especially your breakthrough goal. And it's called affirmations. Affirmations are vividly detailed statements of you living, working, and enjoying life as if your goals had already been achieved. Affirmations help the brain focus on bringing about your heartfelt desires. One example of an affirmation is, I'm happily depositing my first $100,000 royalty check as a best-selling author. Another affirmation might be, I'm joyfully receiving the company's top sales award. Well, if you're not familiar with affirmations, you're probably asking, well, how does this work? How do affirmations work? Well, as scientists now know, the brain is a goal-seeking organism. If you give it a compelling, colorful, crystal clear image of what you want, it will work night and day to create the opportunities, contacts, resources, and circumstances needed to achieve that vision. In fact, the brain has a special function called the reticular activating system that filters through the millions of impressions, images, messages, and thoughts it processes each and every day, and it passes to your conscious mind that specific information that will help you reach your goal. For example, if you've ever thought about speaking at your industry convention as a way to boost your career, then immediately remember you met the national education director last month at a trade show. That's your reticular activating system bringing you ideas and contacts that can help you achieve your goal. Reciting your affirmations frequently throughout the day actually focuses your brain on the goals you want to achieve. Writing them out on index cards, note cards, your smartphone's wallpaper, on a sign at the bottom of your bathroom mirror, or in other places you see frequently, is a way to constantly focus on your most important goals. My best advice is to write out your specific and measurable goals on 3x5 cards. Then review the cards in the morning when you first wake up, and again at night just before you fall asleep. You don't always have to know how you'll accomplish the goal. Okay? You don't have to know how you'll accomplish the goal. That will come. Just keep visualizing yourself in the future as if you had already achieved it. It's also very powerful to add color and sounds and particularly emotions and other sensory aspects to your visualization time. As you review your cards, try to experience the feeling of confidence as you deliver the keynote address at your industry's annual conference, or the scent of the cinnamon rolls baking at the bed and breakfast hotel you recently opened, or the sound of waves breaking at the senior executives retreat in Hawaii, or the joy you feel as you're living out your dream career or professional accomplishment. Repetition is the key. The workbook includes detailed guidelines to help you write powerfully effective affirmations for your unique situation, using your goals in previous exercises about about what you want to be, do, and have. Look for exercise number 6. Of course, we've come to step 4, the most important step in the original 4-part formula I introduced at the beginning of this webinar, and that is take action on your goals. Sometimes our biggest life goals seem so overwhelming. Though we may work hard at achieving them, too often we decide to put them off altogether until we have more time, more focus, more energy, or more manpower. We rarely see our goals as a series of small tasks. But in reality, breaking down the goal into smaller tasks and accomplishing them a few at a time is precisely how any big goal gets achieved. It's like the story about how to eat an elephant, one bite at a time. By breaking down your goal into bite-sized pieces and baby steps, you can begin accomplishing the small tasks that you've determined will lead to achieving your goal. But be aware. Preparing to move forward isn't the same as taking action itself. In other words, preparation, research, planning, getting it perfect, these are all areas where people get bogged down and never actually start taking action. They're too busy getting ready. But one way that I recommend you actually start to take action on your goals is something I call chunking it down. If you had a target goal of saving up 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund, a sample goal that I mentioned earlier in this webinar, what steps could you take to pull that money together over the next 8 months? Could you, number one, determine the amount of money per month that you would need? Number two, identify what portion of your current savings you might use for this special fund. Number three, make a list of money sources to save, such as overtime pay at work or maybe a holiday bonus. Number four, make a list of unused items you could sell on Craigslist or let go. Number five, open a new bank account for this money before starting to earn more and sell things. Those 5 steps, which are essentially research and making lists and going to the bank, are all things you could do in just one day. And in fact, probably in one afternoon. By making lists of what needs to be done, you've effectively chunked down all the tasks into small steps that are doable and achievable. Which leads me to a helpful strategy for taking action. And that is practice something called the rule of 5. The rule of 5 simply means that every day you do 5 specific things that will move your goal towards completion. Bigger goals might take longer, but the rule of 5 still applies. Do 5 things every day until your goal is achieved. Take buying a house in Hawaii, for example. That's a very, very big goal. But chunking it down and doing 5 things a day still applies. You have to find out where the best locations are, decide which island you want to live on, find out how much homes there cost, determine how much money you'll need to save, research where you can get your financing, decide where you'll get your furniture, determine the repairs or decorating budget that you'll need, and on and on. Once you decide all these things and chunk each larger goal down into small steps, you can begin taking action on these steps. 5 steps a day until you achieve your goal. While he didn't call it the rule of 5, a seminar leader I know once said that in order to arrive at the life of your dreams, you simply, 1, make a wish list of the activities, finances, and lifestyle you'll be enjoying once you get there. Number 2, break down each wish on the list into the steps you'll need to take to achieve it. Number 3, choose a number of those steps to achieve each week or month or year. And number 4, achieve them. That's the game plan we're talking about here. For achieving the life of your dreams, or for achieving virtually any impressive goal you've set for yourself. Is there something that hinders people from taking action at all? From taking any action? Of course. One thing is the feeling that they can't accomplish even the smallest of baby steps. They don't feel confident. Another is that they feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff they already have to do. And a third is that they have to ask someone for something in order to move forward. And asking is something they're simply afraid to do. Well, let's address these obstacles right now. I'm actually going to start with the second one I mentioned. People feel overwhelmed by the amount of tasks they already have to do. Most of us have incompletes and messes in our households, offices, relationships, families, finances, and other major areas of our lives. We've got overflowing closets and broken screen doors, and 6 years worth of tax paperwork and bills that aren't filed, and a fight with our sibling that's still unresolved, and a nagging health condition we need to address, and on and on and on. We have incompleted tasks and messes that aren't cleaned up. So one way to stop feeling overwhelmed by what you already have to do is to clean up these messes and incompletes first. It's especially important to handle these incompletes because of what psychologists call attention units. You can only attend to about 7 things at once. Beyond that, you can't. So when you have a cluttered desk, when you're constantly seeing all these papers and unanswered letters and 3,000 emails in your inbox, these things steal your focus away from the other tasks you want to accomplish. You look over your mental to-do list and think, oh, I should move that. I should put that away. I need to answer that. The more incompletes you have in your life, the more your focus and creative energy gets fractured and scattered. The other reason it's important to clean up your messes and your incompletes is that doing so builds self-confidence and self-esteem. When we have a lot of incompletes in our life, we're consciously or unconsciously judging ourselves as incompetent and incapable because we haven't completed them. Every time you look at these messes, they're reflecting back to you the message, you aren't handling me. We're either afraid to handle them or don't know how to handle them. And this fear and lack of knowledge compromises our feelings of competence. By handling the incompletes, we get more time in our lives to focus on those steps that will bring about the really important goals and dreams we have. So, take the time to put all your incompletes and messes down on one list, either on paper or in your computer. Walk around the house and take note of things room by room. Go through your stack of bills to find anything not handled yet. Share with your spouse any family relationships that are in bad shape. Once you have these things listed, you can prioritize them. Then tackle one a month or one per quarter. You don't have to think about the others all the time because you know they're on the list and will be handled in the order of their importance. You can even apply the minimum, target, or optimum model to the messes. What is the minimum goal or the smallest incomplete that you will commit to handling by this weekend? What's a larger mess or incomplete that you could make a target goal to handle this month? And what's an outrageous goal you could handle, such as a complete home renovation over the next 90 days? Handling incompletes and messes boosts your confidence and creates available attention span in your life to tackle the 5 things a day that you want to do to reach your really big goals. But let's address the third roadblock that keeps people from taking action on their goals. And that is they lack confidence when asking for what they need from people who can help them reach their goals. Asking for the help you need is still a challenge that holds many people back. Why are people so afraid to ask? We are afraid of several things: looking needy, looking foolish, looking ignorant. But mostly, we're afraid of experiencing rejection. We are afraid of hearing the word no. The sad thing is that when we don't ask, we're actually rejecting ourselves in advance. We're saying no to ourselves before anyone else has a chance to. But here's an illustration to think about. If you apply to Harvard and you don't get in, you weren't in Harvard before you applied, and you're not in Harvard after you applied. Your life didn't get worse. Then think about it. You've spent your whole life not going to Harvard, and you know how to handle that. Someone telling you no doesn't make your situation any worse. It just keeps it the same. Well, there's a specific science to asking for and getting what you want or need in the pursuit of your goals. Here are some quick tips to get you more comfortable with asking. Number one, ask as if you expect to get it. Ask as if you expect to get it. Ask with a positive expectation. Ask from the place that you have already been given it. It's a done deal. Ask as if you expect to get a yes. Number two, assume you can. Don't start with the assumption that you can't get it. If you are going to assume anything, assume you can get an upgrade. Assume you can get a table by the window. Assume that you can return something without a sales slip. Assume that you can get a raise or that promotion. Don't ever assume against yourself. Number three, ask someone who can give it to you. Qualify the person. Determine for yourself, who would I have to speak to get this accomplished? Who is authorized to make a decision about that? Who do I have to speak with to get whatever it is I'm asking for? Number four, be clear and specific. Too many people are walking around wanting more money, more love, more help around the house, more recognition at work, more of everything. But they're not being specific. Do you want enough money to retire? Do you want to go on a date night twice a month? Do you want the kids' bedrooms picked up every Friday and the laundry done by Saturday morning? If you're not sure about the specifics, do the research of what it takes and make specific requests. Number five, ask repeatedly. Never give up. Whenever we ask others to participate in the fulfillment of our goals, some people are going to say no. They may have other priorities, commitments, and reasons not to participate. It's no reflection on you. So just get used to the idea that there's going to be a lot of rejection along the way to the brass ring. The key is to not give up. When someone says no, you say next. Which brings me to number six. Ask someone else. Remember, there are over 6 billion people on the planet. Someone else has enough authorization, is skilled enough, knowledgeable enough, emotionally invested enough, or otherwise capable of saying yes to you. Don't get stuck in your fear. Move on to the next person, and the next person, and the next, until you connect with the person who can help you. It is a numbers game. Someone out there is waiting to say yes. Sorry, I need a drink. We have just spent the last 60 minutes together. And I know exactly where you're at because I was there as well. I was sitting in a webinar like this one, and at the end of it, I was saying, now what? My mind was going a million miles an hour, and I was seeing new possibilities in my life. I knew I needed more help. I needed a next step. I needed a process, and I needed accountability. And I wanted it all. And if you're at that place, and I know most, if not all of you are, I've got a special opportunity for you to consider. I have assembled a program for anyone who is really ready to take action and make their results real. May I share it with you? It's called the Success Principles, and it's a 6-week interactive group coaching experience. But it is going to be so much more than coaching. I am going to give you a workbook that is going to literally guide you through this entire 6-week process. And I want you to work with one another. There is going to be anywhere from 10, 20, or 50 of you who decide to do the success principles with me. And you're going to gain as much value from me as you do from each other. So I want to make sure that you can connect and unite. So I have set up a private Facebook community, a secret group just for the people who are involved in this group. So you can work together, so you can share your wins, you can share your challenges, and everyone can achieve more as a result. And there is coaching. We'll be doing coaching calls once a week for 6 weeks. We are going to go on a Zoom session just like we are now. They are only for the members. Each week, I'm going to guide you through the proven principles that thousands of people around the world are following right now and have transformed their lives with. I'm going to answer your questions, and I'm going to record our meetings and load them into the private Facebook group so you can watch them over and over again. There is also an accountability system, because I don't want you to ever miss one of our group coaching sessions, or at the very least, watch the replay. So I'm going to be sending you text and email reminders each week to ensure you are following through on what you have learned. I'm sure you're just like me. You have tried programs before and didn't follow through. It wasn't the fault of the program. You just didn't have the accountability built in. I know this program has made such a difference for me. I am motivated to hold you accountable. And by emails and text messages, I am going to ensure you are going to stick to this program. But ultimately, the greatest value I can offer is my focus. I will be with you every step of the way. I am committed to your success. I am in this to win this with you. I want all of you to have the improvements in your life that you've always dreamed about and have fallen short. I want you to turn your dreams into reality. And the path to get there is the success principles. The total price of this program is $1,488. That is what the investment is. But I have an early adopter special of just $497. If you register within the next 14 days, you can lock in your spot at that early adopter special, which is a great price for all the value you are getting and a tremendous break off the regular price of the program. But if you're the kind of person like I was when I heard this, if you're the kind of person who knows and says, I know what I want, I have a special for you. Because the one thing I have seen is that the people who see something and know it's what they want and they take immediate action, they get the greatest results. And that's my ultimate motivation, is for you to get the results you want, and I want to reward you. So if you take action now, sign up for the Success Principles, a 6-week group coaching, total immersion experience. I'm going to discount the early adopter special until it is only $297. It is only available for the first 72 hours after this webcast is done. Normally, it is limited to 48 hours, but because this webcast is on the weekend, I have extended it to 72 hours. Because I want to reward the people who say, right now, I know what I want, and I'm going to get you into this group so that together we can transform your life, we can transform the lives of everyone in this group, and together we can achieve more. Now, I'm going to see if there are any questions in the chat, but if you're that person that knows this is what you want, take action now. Grab one of these limited spots, head over to bit.ly/Dave TSP, and that's Dave for the Success Principles, bit.ly/Dave TSP. The promotion will be right there on that page. Sign up by using the Buy Now button, and I'll see you on the inside. Now, when I was telling you about myself earlier, I didn't share with you one deep, dark secret, so to speak. Something that nobody knew about, and I didn't know about either. And that is this. As I was going through the Success Principles, I realized that something happened to me in kindergarten that devastated me for the next 50 years of my life. And this is what happened. Back when I started going to kindergarten, the school only offered half-day classes. But because of the number of kids, they had a morning class and an afternoon class. Well, we lived out in a rural area. And so the only way for me to get to kindergarten was to ride the bus. But the buses only ran first in the morning and then late in the afternoon. So I would get on the bus in the morning and go to kindergarten and be with the kids in the morning class, and then hang around, eat lunch with the teacher sometimes, and then the next batch of kids would come in for the afternoon session. And then when that was over, catch the bus and ride it home. And what happened while going through the Success Principles was I realized that I was being made feel different during that time. I didn't recognize it back then. Didn't recognize it for a lot of years. I was different because I was there all day. And the other kids knew this. They knew I was there for both sessions. And the kids made fun of me. It's like, you're so stupid, you got to be in 2 classes. Or your parents are so, poor that they can't come and get you at lunchtime. And on and on. They looked down on me as being weird. They call it weird. I guess it was different, basically. And I believed that I wasn't as good as the other kids. I felt like I was less than everyone else because I was different based on what I was having to do. I mean, I didn't have a choice in it. all this made me feel bad. I mean, I withdrew into my shell and I cried about it. I cried a lot. And eventually my parents stopped forcing me to go to kindergarten and they let me go only 2 or 3 days a week. And I believe this is what caused me to be shy or backward or whatever else you want to call it. And it prevented me from enjoying school. And you know, that happened over 50 years ago. And it impacted me for most of my life, almost a half a century. Well, I had got tested at the Johnson O'Connor Institute for aptitude testing when I was trying to narrow my focus and figure out my purpose in life. And one of the many things they test for is whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you're shy or outgoing. And when my test results came back, they said, you're an introvert, or you're an extrovert, you know, an outgoing person. And I said, no, you're wrong. I'm as shy as they come. And they said, no, we're sorry, you're an extrovert. The test is never wrong in this particular category. And I said, okay, I still think you're wrong, but I know I'm shy. I don't believe what you're saying. But anyway, let's move on. After I discovered this kindergarten issue through the success principles, I realized that that issue was what was causing me to be shy, to be an introvert, to not be outgoing, to be that wallflower in the room. I never went to dances. It handicapped me for dating. And, you know, it caused me in my adult life to go to networking sessions and stand in the corner and basically only talk to people that I already knew and not go up to strangers and introduce myself. And it caused me to not take action because I was always afraid of being shy, but also that I was different than everybody else and that I was less than everybody else. And that had been made such an impact on me, and it just lasted my entire life. And it kept holding me back all those years. And you know, I can only imagine what my life would have been like, what kind of success I could have had, you know, what things I could have done if I had discovered this before and I was actually being the extrovert that I am. If maybe I'd been a goal setter and I've been able to take action every time I should have, and I didn't, and I held back. Well, let me tell you something. Since I unearthed that issue, I discovered that kindergarten issue. I am outgoing. I am an extrovert. I preach. I teach. I have found my purpose. I am living a life that resonates with me. I am finally the real me. And I do take action. Are you going to take action today? Are you going to commit to making a massive improvement in your life? If you know what you want, go right now to that link, bit.ly/DaveSTP. Get on there, go to that page, find the Buy Now button, get signed up, and let's get started on this journey. Once again, for the next 72 hours, you can join me at the I know what I want price of $297. Go to the link right now and let's get started. Okay, I'm going to check and see, make sure all the questions in the chat were answered. Okay. Yep, we look all up to date. Okay, once again, this is Dave Stevens. Go to that link today before the price goes back up to $497. and I will see you in the group. Have a super, super day.